what I want to show you is that the valve is not stuck. So I can push this down, I can lift it, and the push rod does come up. I can do the same over here. So the valve is not stuck, the push rod comes up. But it stays at this level. So no matter how much I rotate the engine over, all the other banks, the push rods and the valves, everything is working. This one never comes up, it never moves. So I think the lifters have collapsed. All right, hello everybody, Bill, Rusty Resurrection. As you can see from that opening clip, we think we know why the rockers are not rocking. We think that the lifters have collapsed on that cylinder. I've had a lot of great comments from viewers. Now, I don't have a lot of people viewing each video, but those of you who have been more than willing to share with me your thoughts. Now, from the very beginning, I told you this is sort of a passion project. This is me learning how to rebuild a motor for the first time. So I am on a steep learning curve. So every time I get information, I really do appreciate it. Now, I do have several friends who are in the automotive publishing business, and they are both print publishing and video publishing. So I really do throw a lot of these things out to them and try to get, when I run into problems, I try to get as much expertise from them as I can. And one of them is Jeff Ford over at Auto Restamont. The other is Stephen Holtz over at a video or a YouTube channel called Just Drive It. Both are very talented, very trained guys when it comes to this kind of stuff. So fortunately I can call them up at any hour of the day and they're able to give me some suggestions and advice. Now, several of you guys said that if the lifter have collapsed, that I want to be very, very careful about not trying to do a full compression check on that. And in fact, both Jeff and Stephen said the same thing. However, they both agree that if the lifter is collapsed and the valves are staying closed because of the springs, that we're probably not going to do any damage. That said, I am not going to do a full compression check on that number 2 cylinder. I'm just going to leave that and just leave it open so that I'm not over pressurizing or damaging any of my gauges. I do want to show you something though. So even though I am not going to do a full compression test on this cylinder with the battery and the starter, turning it over rapidly, I did turn it over as quickly as I could with my big wrench. So I just kept turning it over and over and over as fast as I could rotate it, which is not very fast. I did get roughly 28 to 30 psi of pressure in that cylinder. I did that about an hour ago, and it stayed between 28 and 30, so it's not leaking down. So that's telling me a couple things, and again, I'm a novice at this. It's telling me a couple things. That first thing it's telling me is that the valves are sealing, and the second thing that it's telling me is that the rings are sealing as well. Now, I don't know how long we would leave this in real life to check a leak down, but in an hour, it's basically holding pretty stable. So I think at this point my plan is to just leave the spark plug out of the hole and just test the rest of these and just keep an eye on these valves and these rockers and make sure that they're not moving or breaking or losing or dropping down into the cylinder. Now, I am going to pressurize the system. I want to talk about that next because both my automotive guys and a lot of you have suggested that before I do this, I should prime the oil system to make sure that I've got oil in all of those bearings. So let's get started on that next, and I want to talk to you about all of that. All right, guys, so it's several days later. I actually managed to get sick between the scene before and this scene now. Feeling much better today, but it's been several days, and I want to get started back on where we were. And I thought it'd be just kind of interesting to share with you that I've left this compression tester in that number 2 cylinder, and it has bled down from 30 down to 25. So it still has not gone to 0. So I'm going to conclude from that those rings and those valves are actually sealing pretty well. Okay, so we're not going to, like I said, we're not going to test that. All right, the next thing I need to do is I need to pull the distributor, because I need to get down inside there in order to prime or pump up the oil system. Now, I've never done this before. We're going to learn this as we go through it. So I need to get access to this bolt that holds the distributor in, and I can't because this fuel filter is in the way. Okay, so that's loose. That's a long bolt. All right. Okay, so it appears that a screwdriver will do this. I can figure that out. So the next thing I need to do is change that oil filter, and then I also need to add oil back into the sump. So I went downtown and I bought the cheapest oil filter and the cheapest 5 gallons of oil that were available. And because I'm going to just drain this all back out when I'm done. So let's pull that oil filter and then add that oil back in next. So the manual says it needs 5 quarts. So we're going to try to put all 5 quarts in here. So far it's all going down. I don't see any coming out the oil pan anywhere, which is a good thing. She has oil on the dipstick. Lots of oil on the dipstick. All right, so I don't have something to get down in there to spin that pump over. So I went down to my machine shop and I made something just took a piece of 5/8 rod and I milled the two sides of it so it was the same size as the groove down inside the pump. And then I had to mill a 1/2 inch so it could go into my drill motor. So that's the next plan, is we're going to try to spin that over using the drill motor. Okay, so I know it's working because the outlet for the oil pressure gauge started spitting oil all over the place. So I had to stop and figure out a way to plug that up. And the other thing is that while I'm doing this, I can hear oil circulating through the entire system. And I haven't seen any come out yet. But I also want to be very careful. Can you hear it? Well, I don't know if you can hear that oil, but it's circulating. I'm just not seeing it come up here yet. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know if you can see the oil that's in here or not. But there was plenty of oil coming out of these weep holes. And since I've stopped pumping, the weep holes have stopped weeping. And really the same here. So I know this thing is pumping plenty of oil. Alright, so we changed the oil filter, added 5 quarts of oil, primed the system, and you can see that by all the oil that was coming out of every leaky place that is supposed to be a leaky place. So I'm really happy with that. I think we're ready to do the compression check. However, I want to show you something. So apparently that collapsed lifter wasn't. By pumping or priming the system, it actually reinflated those two lifters. So you can see that that was a concern initially. It's not a concern for me now, mostly, I guess. All right, guys, I'm still not feeling as well as I'd like to feel. I was hoping to do the compression check today. I still got to get a battery up here. I want to try and use a remote starter. I've seen ways on the internet where you can just literally run hot leads to the battery, to the starter. The remote starters, they're 15, 16 bucks. So I'm going to go buy one of those, get a battery up here, and that next video that we do, we will do a compression check on all of these cylinders and sort of analyze what it is we think we have learned from that. And I will probably begin to tell you a little bit about the story of how I intended to modify this Jeep early on and what my intentions were for that little V6 very early on as well. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Guys, I love you. I hope to see you in the next video when we do that compression check or something else. Bye, guys.